On June 28, 1919, the leaders of Germany, the United States, France, Italy, and Great Britain met to bring an end to one of the most horrific wars in history. The Treaty of Versailles formally ended World War I and brought punishments to Germany.
The conflicts before World War I began with the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, the Archduke of Austria-Hungary, on June 28 of 1914. The assassination was carried out by Gavrilo Princip, a young member of an organization known as the Black Hand. The Black Hand was a group of Serbian nationalists that wanted to bring an end to Austro-Hungarian rule in Serbia. For several years leading up to Ferdinand's assassination, tensions between Serbia and Austria-Hungary ran high. The struggle between the opposing countries became even more stressed in the days after the assassination. On the 23rd of July, Austria-Hungary, then aided by Germany, had a neutral person sent to Serbia to negotiate peace and surrender terms. While Serbia agreed to some of these terms, they also began to increase their military strength. 2 days after the agreement between Serbia and Austria-Hungary cut all ties with Serbia and began mobilizing. While Serbia and Austria-Hungary were preparing for war, the leaders of Britain, France, Italy, and Russia were trying to prevent the war. Britain also called for Germany to join them, but they declined, as they were helping Austria-Hungary. On July 28, 1914, 2 days after the conference of the European powers, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. Germany and Russia began mobilizing and feared that they would be attacked by each other. On August 1st, Germany declared war on Russia. On August 6th, Austria-Hungary did so as well. The Germans declaring war on Russia caused France and Belgium to also begin mobilizing. France joined the Allies, but Belgium remained neutral. Germany decided to declare war on France and invade Belgium. Britain demanded that German forces vacate Belgium. When the Germans ignored Britain's requests, Britain declared war on Germany. The British sent troops to France for support. On August 12th, Britain and France both declared war on Austria-Hungary. On August 17th, Russia had a failed attempt at an invasion of Germany. Shortly thereafter, the Ottoman Empire entered the war as part of the Central Powers.
By this time in the war, two alliances had formed. Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire were known as the Central Powers. Serbia, Russia, France, Japan, Montenegro, and Britain formed the other alliance known as the Allies. The year of 1915 started off rather well for the Allied powers. However, the Germans would soon revolutionize warfare. Germany had been working on a new type of U-boat, a type of submarine that used deadly torpedoes to take out enemy ships. The Germans also began developing poison gas to use as a weapon. On February 19th, the British and French sent ships into the Turkish Dardanelles Straits in order to take control of the supply route to Russia. In April, land raids on Gallipoli began. After many months of fighting, the Central Powers finally arose the victorious side of the battle. Out of the 500,000 Allied troops sent to Gallipoli, there were about 250,000 casualties.
For the first month of 1916, there was not much progress in the war for either side. But on February 21st, a battle even bloodier than the Gallipoli campaign erupted. The Germans had raided the French city of Verdun, seeking to take out as many troops as possible. The battle went back and forth for several months, until December, when the French pushed the last of the Germans out of France. The victory was not without consequence, though, as there were an estimated 714,231 total casualties, 337,000 of which were German, and 377,231 of which were French. On July 1st, while the Battle of Verdun was still being fought, the Battle of the Somme broke out. The fights during the battle took place on both sides of the River Somme in France. This battle resulted in Allied victory as well, but had an even higher casualty count than Verdun, with roughly 623,906 Allied casualties and almost 600,000 German casualties.
Woodrow Wilson had originally not wanted to join the war, but he was left with no choice as the Germans constantly destroyed American trade ships with U-boats. On April 2nd, President Woodrow Wilson gave a speech in front of Congress, famously saying, "The world must be made safe for democracy." He then asked the U.S. Congress for permission to declare war on Germany. 4 days after the president's speech, America declared war on Germany. This was a massive advantage for the Allies, for they had another army to fight with. On December 15th, the Russians signed an armistice with the Germans. When Russia removed their troops from the Eastern Front, German forces could be redeployed.
In January, President Woodrow Wilson presented his peace treaty to the U.S. Congress, including his 14 major points. The 14 points included open diplomacy so no treaties could be made in secret, freedom of diplomacy and trade, the disarmament of multiple countries, that countries' borders should be adjusted as needed, that when required, countries should be given their independence, that the situation of countries should be restored to those before the war, and a proposal of the League of Nations. On March 3rd, Russia signed a treaty with Germany, ending Russia's participation in the war. Germany placed punishments on Russia, forcing them to yield a quarter of their land and half of the Russian industry. By May 28th, more than 650,000 American troops had arrived at France, and 10,000 more were arriving daily. In order to defend against the Central Powers' efforts, America and France combined their powers. The troops pushed the Bulgarians out of Serbia, as well as pushing the Turks out of Palestine. With no hope of victory left, the Germans planned on an armistice with the Allies. Before Germany could do this, Bulgaria signed an armistice with the Allies, being the first of the Central Powers to withdraw from the war. When President Woodrow Wilson received the German armistice, he responded with a list of demands to Germany. Germany could not sign the armistice for those reasons. On October 30th, Turkey signed an armistice with the Allies, leaving only Germany and Austria-Hungary left in the war. On November 3rd, Austria-Hungary signed an armistice with Italy, leaving only Germany to fight. 2 days later, Germany was informed that America was willing to discuss peace terms in France, the location of the Allied Supreme Commander. The armistice was signed by the Germans on November 11th.
On January 18th, the Paris Peace Conference was open to 32 countries. The countries worked together to form the Treaty of Versailles. Germany was excluded from the conference for the time being. In anticipation of yielding their weapons to the Allies, the Germans sank 74 of their own warships. Unfortunately for the Germans, the treaty did not have much to do with Wilson's 14 points, which were not too harsh on the Germans. With the first part of the treaty, the new League of Nations was created. The League was a group of countries brought together to retain world peace. It was not brought into power until 1920, and Germany was not allowed to join until 1926. The treaty imposed harsh punishments on Germany. Germany's borders were restricted, and they could only access up to a certain class of weapons. They had to pay millions of dollars in reparations as well. The treaty was not as successful as the Allies had hoped. It was put together hastily, and some say its punishments to Germany were too harsh. The biggest reason the treaty was a failure was because the Allies had failed to enforce the punishments they placed on Germany. Revision after revision, the treaty the Allies made could not work, and proved to be an ultimate failure after 20 years. The war had morphed the territories of Europe. The Austro-Hungarian Empire and Serbia divided to form Austria, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, and Yugoslavia. Germany and Russia split into many countries, including Poland and Ukraine. In 1919, a man named Adolf Hitler was ordered by the German army to investigate a group called the German Workers' Party. During his investigation, Hitler joined the party and built it up. He later changed his name to the Nazi Party. Enraged at the Treaty of Versailles, Hitler built his party up to revolt against the German government and eventually began World War II in 1939, 20 years after the Treaty of Versailles. In order to establish peace throughout the world, the Treaty of Versailles was created. The treaty formally ended World War I, restoring peace throughout Europe. The treaty would also unite countries by creating a League of Nations, as well as placing harsh punishments on Germany. Though the Treaty of Versailles created temporary peace throughout the world, most say it did more harm than good.